10x your service design offering with Smapply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smapply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smapply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of This Is HCD. My name's Gerry Scullion and I'm going to be your host. In this episode, we are delighted to welcome back the one and only Marc Stickdorn, co-author of This Is Service Design Thinking and This Is Service Design Doing, and is widely regarded as the pioneer of journey management. Now, Marc's not only a great friend, but also an incredible collaborator and supporter of the work that we do here at This Is HCD. We dig into why organizations are still struggling with alignment, how visualization can drive change, and why many metrics, like NPS, might be misleading you. There's three key takeaways, though, I want to talk about in this episode. And number one, alignment is still broken. Most organizations claim to be customer-centric, but operate in silos, and we unpack why this happens and how to fix it. And number two, visualization is a powerful tool. Journey maps and other service design tools can really help simplify the complexity, but only if they include the relevant data for the right people. Number three, metrics can mislead. NPS and other traditional KPIs don't always tell the full story. We discuss better ways to measure impact and drive real meaningful change. Now, if you're in design, product, or leadership, this episode is packed with practical insights that you can apply right away in your organization. But if you're looking to wanting to embed human-centered design or service design in your organization, I encourage you to sign up for my free 5-day email course on kickstarting a human-centered service design approach in your organization. The link is in the description below. This is a great episode. Let's jump straight in. Marc, delighted as always to welcome you back to the podcast for the 309th time, I think it is. It's great to have you here. So we've been back and forth for the last couple of months, nutting out a potential topic for another podcast. That this conversation is really about the alignment and the importance that visualization gives to not only designers or product managers, but also to organizations. And I'm keen to get your thoughts on that. Before we do that, Marc, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
Well, thanks for having me again. I'm Marc. I work in the field of service design since 20 years, published some books and so on. But mainly I help organizations to embed and scale service design in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Work across the board, like both in private companies, public services, governments. And I run a software company, the first journey management tool that was out there since 2012. And that's me. I'm living in Austria, in Innsbruck, in the middle of the Alps. I can actually see the ski slope from my office right now, which is, we still got snow.
You have the same patter, as we would say, the introduction because we did a workshop together this morning, and that is exactly what you opened your workshop with. I can actually see the ski slopes in the distance.
Well, that's true, and it is because it is true, and I see it. And I honestly, I would be rather out there going skiing now.
I know, yeah. I'm going to start off with why is misalignment such an issue in 2025? It's still there. Like, you'd imagine that if emails weren't getting sent and they were getting blocked by a firewall, they would do something about it pretty quickly. They'd do stuff. That same level of disconnect is happening in terms of the knowledge getting through. Why are we still seeing that misalignment? And what is causing that persistence?
I don't think there's one reason for it. I think there are many reasons, and let's explore a few of them.
Okay.
Often, I think it has to do with the sheer overload of information. And if you have a job, you have a task to fulfill, you constantly filter out what is useful for you, what does help you with your task, and what is clutter. Yeah. And we need to get through there. Like that means if we present information, it needs to be relevant to the audience. And if we only speak about what we're doing and not what others can do with, like what it enables them to achieve with it, I think we have a hard time to break through that barrier and make it relevant for them as well.
So you mentioned there about people, they've got a job to do and they almost put the blinkers on. We need to get this task done. And that's what they're ultimately paid for in some instances. I need to get this job done. This other job, when they move the blinkers, seems to be maybe somebody else's job. Like I don't have capacity to focus on the blinkerless vision. How can we shift that perception of this is my job, but also that way as well, looking left and right? You know, capacity always enters the conversation. Like we don't have capacity to do this. We need to stop everything and then, you know, refocus our efforts on going left and right. How do you approach this, and how are organizations approaching this?
Yeah. Well, the easy answer is like the top-down answer, right? And say like, well, this is also your task and you should be paying attention to it and so on. But I think to get really into it, in like to really convince folks in it, we need to speak their language. We need to care about wherever they need to move the needle. Like what do they care about? What are KPIs they care about? What is actually the jobs to be done for them, and how do they measure success? How do they define success? And if we are able to transfer whatever we are doing into this language, then people start to listen.
So top down is one way, but if your leadership don't really have the, how should I say it, the nice way of saying it, if they don't have the ability, either personally or professionally, they don't have the time as well to get down and look within the trenches of what's happening. What about the other way of looking, like looking from I hate saying the bottom up, but even from the middle up in some instances? Is that something like, well, what can they be doing to start the process? Sort of like top down is one way, but it also has to come from the other way as well.
Yeah. Well, be mindful of the language you're using and talk less about how you do things and more what you can achieve with it or what it enables others to do. So if they care about certain metrics, think about how can you help them to achieve their goals. And if you just include that into your language, or if we talk about specific tools like a journey map, place an anchor for it, so they realize this is relevant to me. I can use this to also find myself in there and be aligned with it. Because very often, if you present a journey map to a team and they say this is nice, but that's not useful for me, it basically means it doesn't contain relevant information for me. And to make a journey map or any other tool that we use in design relevant across teams, to really use it as a boundary object, it needs to include relevant information for them.
Let's talk about what happens when you're misaligned. Like, so from our experience, we've both got quite a lot of experience in this world, but that misalignment, like as long as I've been working, it's still happening. Like it's still kind of like one that we're coming back and saying we need to improve alignment. What value does that give? And this is obviously, I know the answer to some of this stuff, but what value does that give to the design team, the development team, and the broader business when alignment has been hit? And how do you know alignment has been fully hit and reached?
There are loads of maturity models out there, right? And I haven't seen one that really works across all the organization, because it's so different from organization to organization. Within each organization, you have different departments. Within each department, you have different teams and so on. So I think it's impossible to say like how like what are the signals for hitting that across an organization? Because
meaningful alignment.
But design teams are often a hub in the organization. They often need to translate between different teams. They need to take requirements and translate that so that others can actually understand what this means. And then again, translate that into things that are actionable. So if we hit alignment, that means we actually make sure that the problems we identify, the unmet needs we identify, we have a common understanding of what these are and how we tackle it, and whatever we do, actually we work towards the common goal of solving these. And if we look into organization, most organizations say they're customer-centric, but they're actually silo-centric.
They're very silo.
They focus on their own, like however they define success. And for me, that is a signal of misalignment. If a team is focusing on whatever they define as success, and it is actually missing alignment between the teams, that means they're not running in the same direction. They're actually running in slightly different direction. That makes it really hard to focus on the customer, because we focus too much on ourselves, our own teams.
Typically that misalignment, I'm stuck in this at the moment. You have to help me get off this square. I'm stuck in a kind of like a portal of misalignment. Who's looking after that? Like, whose role is it to make sure that the teams are aligned? Because I think, and my understanding of Agile and Scrum and all of those different methodologies was trying to help that alignment happening, making sure that the teams, but it almost felt like they were being forced to align. It was like, this is the way it is. And, you know, it's on the backlog, it's in Jira, we need to do it. And then it forces this kind of like reactionary, well, it's up there, it's written, it's a story, we need to respond to it. That forced alignment piece, I'd love to get your thoughts on it versus that meaningful alignment piece. And also the fact that it is still there. The fact that it's 2025 this year. I don't know if you know that, folks. It's another piece of information that's free. The fact that it's still there, the misalignment piece, is there any one role in the organization that, in your experience, who's looking after that to try and increase alignment of projects? And if so, what are the metrics that they're looking at?
I don't know if that's a specific role. For me, it's actually one of the core tasks of leadership, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it should be, but yes, often it's not, because often we play power games there.
Who's going to drink the lattes if they're doing that?
The what?
Who's going to drink the lattes if leadership are looking after the misalignment? Sorry, it's a big dig.
Well, I'm not sure if that is a role, because in the end, if we all focus on the same goals, if we're running in the same direction, that means we need to get rid of those. How do we measure success within each department? So one of the key things I see in organizations is to have cross-silo KPIs. So KPIs that are used across different teams to ensure that we measure success based on the same KPIs. Okay. And as long as we don't have that, it will be really difficult to introduce that.
Metrics and visualization. I'm going to move into the next part of the conversation, okay? Because I'm a huge believer in the power that a lot of the toolkit from service design can give us as change makers, whatever you want to call us, as practitioners. Walk me through why you feel visualization as a communication tool is so effective.
Because it has the power to simplify and simplify often rather complex reality. Like if we look at maps and where do we use maps, like where they come from, geography, like we use it for navigation, right? And we often didn't know, like if we go centuries back, the explorers at that time, they didn't know how the whole world looks like or functioned, but they knew parts of it and they mapped it so others could follow their trace. And they used it to share this information. So I think this is one of the core things in organizations, why we use maps, because why they work so easily, because they're easy to grasp, easily understandable, but they can be enriched with specific data that is relevant to a specific audience. So we have a simple tool connecting specific audiences with each other, allowing them to bring in very specific knowledge. So on a map and geography, even though we agree on common structures of how a map works, you can add loads of different data to it for different use cases. So a map for driving your car looks different than a map to navigate your boat on the ocean, or for farmers to put like their seeds in the ground, or if you're a miner and you want to dig out stuff. Like, we all use maps, but we fill it up with different specific data. I think that is the power of it. We have a very simple common understanding, and we can enrich it with very specific data.
Yeah, I love that. When we talk about frameworks and service architecture, so I refer to it, you refer to it as journey management. When we talk about this stuff to organizations, what are the common pushbacks about why it won't be adopted? I'd love to get your thoughts on that, because we could unpack that a little bit more.
Well, they need to see the value of it, and if you just hear about like how to set it up and so on, or they see like, oh, it takes actual work to set this up,
yeah,
and they hear benefits and they see use cases from other companies, but it doesn't really resonate with them as long as they don't see it work within their own organization. Mm-hmm. Once they see it working and they see the benefits of it, they buy into it. But first, we need to make sure that they actually understand that this can work within their own organization. We need to tweak and adapt it from organization to organization, because everyone works slightly different.
So when you think about the pushback, that time to invest into it is kind of like the same reason why they don't look at the task when it's their focus, their head is down. Is there a case there for taking a step back and allowing people the time to breathe and respond, to catch up, and take some time to really plan for the future? Or is this something that you can see that has been incrementally added over time, project by project, and chipped away like kind of by 1,000 cuts, so to speak?
Well, what I saw, what resonates better in an organization is a slower, more sustainable approach to bring it in. So start with a small team and then let it grow project by project, and increase the amount of people who are involved in it. Because the other way is to really start big and say, okay, we need loads of maps and it only works at scale. And yes, there are benefits of scaling it and having it on a large scale. But there's also danger of it, because if you go too big in the beginning, you might have not the capacity in your organization to act on the decision that you're taking. So if you have loads and loads of pain points and loads of opportunities in it, and you decide, okay, this is what we're going to tackle, and your organization is not there yet to actually tackle it, and you tackle just a fraction of it, after a year or so, people might get frustrated and say, look, we reported this, and it actually becomes a reporting tool for them, where I say we place pain point by pain point here, need by need, but nobody acts on it, so why should I keep on doing it? Yeah. And I think that is a danger we need to avoid. So if we go in too big, without having the capabilities and the capacity to follow up on decisions that we take, it is doomed to fail.
So how can we enable that? Like, how can we make that easier for executives? Like, does this require, from your perspective, the buy-in and the training of executives to become more proficient in the language of customer experience, whatever you want to call it, design thinking? Is that, again, are we falling into the trap of siloed thinking, of trying to get them to think like us rather than us think like them?
Yeah, but I would turn it around. I think designers need to speak more business.
Yeah.
And we need to speak the universal language that people care about in an organization. So if we're able to translate our work, so translate from a journey map into a portfolio, and offer information in a way that is easily understandable, again, by the audience. And if it's about decision makers, probably they're more familiar with like portfolio management than with customer experience and journey maps.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to teach them how we think about customer experience, how our tools work, maybe we need to turn it around and rather use their language and their tools. And again, make sure that we include data that they care about. So talk about things like costs and risk and revenue and customer lifetime value and stuff like that.
You're building these segues almost flawlessly for me, and I love that. So you mentioned there about metrics and making sure that the data that's in there makes sense. In your experience, if I was to give you a magic wand, and there was one type of data that you see is being overused within journey maps, or even just generally within organizations, and you could eradicate it and put more meaningful metrics in there, what would it be?
Oh gosh, you want me to say NPS, right?
No, oh well, really, that's very contentious. And why does NPS, in your perspective, get such a bad rap?
Well, oh gosh, I did that. Oh gosh,
side swipe. That was a kidney punch.
That's all good. That's all good. Well, there's several issues about it. Apart from the academic discussion around NPS that is lacking validity and actually not measuring what it is supposed to measure. Mm-hmm. It is on the one hand a lagging metric. So you only see afterwards, right? And people like also this question like, would you recommend? It doesn't apply to many services. I would never recommend this, like, I don't know, my electricity provider, or like why would I recommend this to a friend? Like I don't go to them and say, hey, this is a really great water supply. No, yeah. I don't care about that. And it's a bit odd. But apart from that, like what I like about it is the qualitative part of it. So if people answer, and part of all the criticism about this, which I share, if it's used well, it still can help you, particularly with this qualitative question, like the why question, although there are better ways how to get to this data apart from that. But that can be really, really useful to go through the qualitative part and understand like why we see certain effects. And I think if you look at journey maps and stuff we see out there, it's often focusing more on the quantitative bit and care about like how can we increase our NPS, because that's what my bonus depends on, and less about going into the qualitative bits of data there. And do you know how to get, like, I give you an expert tip here, how to increase NPS by 5 points immediately? Color in 9 and 10 green and you're going to make it. That's a problem about this stuff. Like we try to hack the system. We try to impact the score and not what it is supposed to measure. That's what I don't like about that stuff.
What do you say to designers or anyone in the space of innovation, I guess, who are around NPS, and they might be in an organization where they're pretty relatively low design mature, if you'd say, and they know that NPS is in there and they're going for it. They're trying to get rid of it in the organization. They're trying to say like, oh, this is not doing us any good, versus having conversations about alignment. Which would give you the better bang for buck?
I wouldn't try to get rid of it. I would try to triangulate it and maybe put other factors on the same level of it. And through that, it might be a valuable component. So think of it, and like in management, we talk about the balanced scorecard approach, where you map around 6 aspects around a certain topic. So often these are metrics, but I would also include qualitative factors. Things like, what do people complain about mostly last month? What are the contact reasons from your contact center? What are pain points they're having? But then also quantitative factors like customer lifetime value. And yes, you can also then put net promoter score, CSAT, or what have you into that mix. And I think as a mix, it works quite nice.
What about volume of calls and volume of inquiries and volume of emails and traffic to a destination and so forth? In terms of those metrics, like what does that give us as designers?
Well, if you want to decrease the volume of calls, take off your phone number off your website, right?
Oh, you're nicking my bloody case studies here.
Sorry, but yes, that's a problem. If it's just about volume, like volume of emails, whatever, you can always hack the system, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really tell you why people are contacting you. And is it for them a workaround because they can't achieve what they actually try to achieve through the channels they want to use? Or is it because we force them into a certain channel? So it's just lacking the context.
Okay. Here's a more of an anecdotal / agony aunt scenario, okay? When you've got executives over here, okay, who may, with the very best intention, any of the executives that I've been lucky enough to get to work with, they always have the best intention. I'm not picking on anyone here, any group, okay? But if you're an executive and they're over here and you've got frontline teams over here delivering the service, okay? And they see two different versions of reality, okay? How do you navigate that disconnect? How do you bring them closer?
How to create alignment. Back to that, yes.
Yeah.
Well, tools are always one way, but I think like they need to tap into the reality. So service safaris is a great way to do it. Like, if you're an exec, work for, and if it's just an hour, work as front-end staff, become a customer of the services and the products you're offering. Like, I work with so many executives who never use their own services. Car companies where they never brought their own car to a service. Travel companies, airlines where they don't book a ticket through their own website because they don't need to do this. But doing this, both from a customer perspective and an employee perspective. So do kind of an internship. I always talk about this stupid TV show, Undercover Boss, right? We don't do the fake mustache and stuff like that, right? But the core idea is really work frontline and understand the reality of the decisions we often take rather on abstract data and see how these really play out if you're working there in frontline.
Yeah, I love it. In your from your perspective, you can get them to do these certain activities. If they're like, no, that's your role. Is there anything you've seen in terms of a stepping stone that might trigger those conversations that could bring them a little bit closer rather than, because what we're trying to do there is talk about push and pull. I'd love to get your thoughts and some sort of, I guess, more framework thinking around what does that engagement look like? Trying to get them down. Like, one of the things that I love to do is get things on the wall and get things up on the wall so that when they're passing by and they can actually see the work that's going on and kind of get their interest a little bit more and try and grab 5 minutes. It's much harder to do this, though, when things are in Miro or Mural or any of these tools. What have you seen? And this is a question I get asked quite a lot. In absence, if you're distributed and you're across the world and stuff, and you're trying to evoke a change where somebody is in New York or Sydney or wherever it is, what advice do you give to them in that instance where you're kind of like being somewhat discriminated against geographically because you don't get the opportunity for that 5-minute water cooler opportunity?
I agree that like pen and paper is the best thing, and have a printed, let's say, journey map on the wall is still one of the greatest way to literally walk people through it. If you can't do it, yes, use digital tools to do it. It's not the same though, but then it depends also how you use the tools. Like you can talk through tools. You can pull in proper customer data. You can get quotes in from customers. You can let customers talk through their experience. So there are different ways how to get them closer to the actual experience people have. What I see very powerful is also if you let different groups create artifacts independently of each other. So let if you are able to grab them for 15 minutes, let them do a very quick journey map themselves based on their own experience. Let them add the 3 core pain points about that certain experience you look at,
Yeah.
and then reflect with against a proper research-based journey map and see if they are aligned, or if there's a big mismatch. And if there is a mismatch, then you have a nice trigger point for further conversation. Like, how can we close this gap? How can we reach alignment there? How can we bring this data that we are having, that we're collecting all the time, into a format that you can use it in your work and leading to better decisions?
Yeah. More accountability and more visibility and more action-based. Which brings us on to, obviously, the last couple of years, you've been primarily focused on journey management, the whole kind of framework on that. Talk me through. This is an opportunity for you to step up and bang your chest a little bit. I'm obviously a power user of Smaply, and I've been on the journey with you for a very long time. I don't know how many years, probably 10 or 11 years. Where are you seeing this going? Like, because service design, journey management, is this just another terminology that you're seeing enter the conversation and adding more complexity to already crowded conversations and leadership's minds?
For me, it's a natural development, and it just helps to manage service design at scale. Like when we launched the second version of Smaply, that was in 2016, we included the first elements of journey management, with like the ability to link live data into it and the ability to link to Jira tickets. So on the one hand, it becomes a dashboard, so you see what is going on in the organization. How are we performing? On the other hand, you see what are we doing, what are we planning to do, and what is the process of progress of it. We didn't see like huge adoption at that time, and it needed a few more years. We're a little bit too early, I think. And in the last 2 years, this is really accelerating, and it's fantastic to see. So what we see now is that it really becomes something that many larger organizations and also increasingly smaller organizations start to use. I don't like the term, but they use it as a management approach. I would never use and call it management approach when I talk about this with a company, because then people are immediately afraid by just the label of it, right? So I often also don't call it journey management just because of the term management. I often call it journey ops or journey map operations or information system or service architecture. Whatever label resonates in the organization, make the hurdle as easy as possible. What it really brings is, again, alignment, but also it helps you to manage and help you with the prioritization process of what is our next project. So if we look at service design in an organization, start with a small team. In a small team, it's easy to pick the next project. But if you have more designers, more people working in service design, because they're not only designers, right? How do you prioritize? How do you scale this up? And for that, we need an information system that creates alignment. For me, that is what we do with journey management.
So you've obviously done a lot of talks, sales talks, interviews with people about this topic, and journey management in its in a 50-word or less scenario. We talk about these different Zoom levels and where these experiences happen. For people who are like, what is this? Is it just stitched journey maps that are together? Tell me, what's your take?
For me, it's really operationalizing journey maps. So understanding that a journey map is a living object that you use to constantly monitor and prioritize with the idea to improve the experience, both the experience for customers and employees. And you need to do this across different levels. So you need to do it on a very detailed map for a small team that is focusing on a specific aspect. But often what they do is they have too little budget to tackle everything that, like all the pain points, all the needs, and so that they see. So the ability to have different Zoom levels and connect these Zoom levels with hierarchy and decision-making levels in the organization is really what makes a difference, because then teams can escalate pain points they saw in the next higher level map, where then someone can look at that with more decision-making power and actually act upon that. So for me, the hierarchy of maps, however you call it, again, different names for this, and connecting it with decision-making is really what makes a difference there, because it becomes an ongoing approach that you use. I like to call it information system or management approach, if that doesn't hurt any feelings or creates any fear in the organization of someone will take away my power.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Without sounding like I'm too much of a salesperson on behalf of you, like I've used it, so many times over the years, and never once have I regretted it in terms of what it gives me and the flexibility that this tool gives me out of the box. Okay. Nearly all my clients, and I say nearly all because I'm working with one at the moment and I know it's gonna work. Otherwise I would have said all my clients, have really taken to this, and they're able to really collaborate, and they're able to see the opportunities for potential innovation in the future. I want to end the conversation, Mark, and talking about something that you mentioned there about the portfolio aspect of it. When you're mapping your experiences out, and it's like one thing to map your own personal experience, but hopefully people listening will know that you have to go and do research. You have to validate this. You have to bring evidence back into the conversation. Talk to me about the opportunities that are discovered when you're researching, and how this intersects and weaves into a portfolio management or an opportunity matrix of sorts, and how that dovetails nicely into, say, the agile framework of being able to quantify the impact and the ROI of any of these initiatives.
Yes. So if you think of the reality of tools that people are using, if you work in design, customer experience, a journey map is a natural tool we're using. If you are in middle or higher management, maybe not. Maybe you're more comfortable with portfolios, because that's what you use to prioritize and for decision making. So we need to translate again our data from a journey map. Think of you have a journey map, you have a lane full of opportunities. And you rate each opportunities based on certain factors, be it like what is the potential impact on the user, what is the feasibility or cost to bring this to market, and so on. And you revisualize that as a portfolio, where you then can talk about things like risk, for example. So which of these opportunities are more risky, which of these are less risky. And then you can start managing it like you would manage a stock portfolio, where we know we never would put all eggs in one basket. We will not put all our money onto that one really risky stock out there, but we try to diversify. We take a few less risky investments. We take maybe one or two risky ones. And there are some decision-making approaches where they take this element out of it, where basically there's an algorithm telling you what to do. And I'm not going to mention anything specific, but I think in product management and decision making, you know which tools I mean. Like you have different categories, you rate on things, and then the algorithm tells you these are your top 5 things to do. And I think there's more to it, because we also need to align our opportunities with the vision of the company. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to be? What is right now the most important aspect for decision making? Is it maybe the impact on costs? Is it to care about one particular group of customers? And using a portfolio is a really simple way that allows you to bring in different dimensions and speak the language of the management, and less of design.
It is a dovetail of sorts into that world. It's been the disconnect for quite some time, because we would always, I used to call it the Oliver Twist scenario, where you'd go and you'd come up with some ideas, and you might have found some pieces from research, and you'd be so excited about it, and you put them on the plate, and then you go up to the leadership and go, please, sir, can I have some more? And they'd say, no, this doesn't fit with our strategy at the moment. You have to put it back to the, Q4 or something, and we'll come back and readdress it. And then you're like, you go into that perpetual cycle of, when is my moment? And most designers will probably resonate with that piece. And since this shift has happened over the last maybe 4 or 5 years in particular, we're starting to pick up a groundswell, that conversation is less frequent. It's obviously still there, but like working this way and speaking this way, you're able to elevate yourself into those conversations much, much more. Marc, I know we've taken up quite a lot of your time. We did some prep for this as well. If people want to reach out and engage and learn more about you and what you're doing and the tool, what's the best way for people to reach out and learn and get their hands dirty, so to speak?
I'm active on LinkedIn. You can always connect me on LinkedIn and I post occasionally there. I do podcasts with Gerry sometimes, so follow that as well. But then basically it's our website. It's smapley.com. Happy to get in touch and happy to talk you through different possibilities. And
brilliant. There's a bunch of episodes for anyone who's just tuning in. We did a LinkedIn live here. If you're listening to it on the podcast, we had members from our community as well in the chat, listening in as we're doing this, which is an exclusive thing just for the community members on This Is HCD. If you are interested in that, go to thisishcd.com and do an application. It's an apply-only model. We don't sell it. You have to apply to become a member. And also, folks, again, if you want to listen to more about Marc, I know he's got such a really beautiful accent and a beautiful voice. You can go to thisishcd.com/episodes, I think it is. And you can filter and you'll see lots of conversations with Marc where we talk more about this topic in particular, but also around embedding service design thinking and doing into your organization. Marc, you know it and I know it. I wrap every episode up by thanking their guests for their vulnerability, their persistence and allowing me to ask questions. This isn't scripted. We don't have anything. We did a bit of prep up front in terms of ask what Marc had for his lunch. Was he fed? Does he have a drink? That's as much prep as we do on This Is HCD. It is an unscripted podcast. If you are listening and you're still here, please do like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn. And also, if you are on Apple Podcasts too, it would be fantastic. It helps other subscribers and other listeners tune into the content. And I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Marc.
Thanks for having me again.